Of Kiwis living in Australia who 10 years ago bought a 28-foot yacht to refit and live on, to learn about living aboard and save enough money to buy a stripped out sunken 70-ton steel trawler. Our dream was to convert a diesel fishing boat into a biodiesel, veggie oil, solar wind powered expedition and research boat capable of handling big seas, big projects and taking a crew from around the world and online with us. After rebuilding her, we'll soon be launching with our crew to do research, projects, expeditions, innovative engineering and work around the world. Welcome aboard. Today we help get Renko, Stu's boat, from the marina onto the hardstand next to Brupeg. Yay! A little more work on the galley and we start the final work on our hydrodynamic passive stabilizers. A big step closer to launch. Introducing our new crew member officially. She's on board with us. You all told me she would be. So patrons on our last live feed decided on her name. Damien was suggesting Pussy McPussface. I had a terrible suggestion. Luckily we were saved. Catamaran, Moran for short. This is Moran. She's a stray that was looked after by the guys in the yard over the last few years. She's been here as long as we've been in the yard and before, so she, the vet thinks she's about 10 years of age. She's neutered, all of that stuff. She's really healthy. She's not happy with this thing. So we've been acclimatising her, seeing if she wants to come with us, see if she can cope with it. And the last test, darling, wasn't it, was sedating her and taking her to the vet, because she's obviously been injured and maltreated at some point, and you being a stray, she's really skittish. But she's doing really well. Apparently the Russian Blue, which she is, attached to a female, a single female. They're a one-person cat, and I'm it apparently, so I can do anything to her, but most other people don't even see her in the boat. But she's been doing really well, and she'll stay with us definitely while we're in Australia. And if we can, we'll take her with us the rest of our trip. But we'll just see. I've got to get some blood tests done and check that she's okay to come through quarantine different places. But she's a hardy, kind little thing. What do you want? You want to say a little papa? Yeah, you do. That's right. Who's our little sprightly pussycat when no one else is home?
G'day, welcome back. We're in the galley once more and we're working on a wall that has stainless underneath all of that plastic. We have to get it off. I'm working on getting these shelves properly mounted. To do that, I need to put riv nuts. I've got two up there, but I need to do the bottom two. So we've got the hole for this one here. What I need to do is, my riv nut machine won't fit, so I've used this as my little machine that I've built. So basically all it is, it's actually an old, out of a tap, just a piece of brass or whatever they are, with a 6mm hole drilled all the way through. Got a bolt. This is stainless. I would have loved for it not to be stainless, but it's stainless, with a riv nut. And then through the hole here, I drill a 13mm hole until I hit the rib, the steel rib, and the steel rib has got a 7mm hole in it, which allows that riv nut to pass through it. And then once I push that all the way through, I then just get my little rattle gun screwdriver machine and then just pull that tight, and it'll squeeze that riv nut up against the rib that's in there, and then we can carry on and bolt things to it, and you end up basically with that. So you can sort of see a riv nut in that hole. That's the end product. One thing to remember when using stainless bolts or screws or anything like that is always have some sort of lubrication on the threads, because otherwise they'll just gall up and your life gets really hard really fast. We're in the kitchen. Jess doesn't deal with chemical smells and things like that, so I can't use something like an oil or a copper coat or any of that sort of anti-seize type stuff. So I'm actually just going to use dishwashing liquid. It doesn't have to be a specific metal based lubricant, it just has to be something to provide like a reduction in friction when you start, hoeing into the torque on these threads. Stainless really loves to grab metal around it and just wrap up, and when it does, there's no way of basically fixing it. You end up you have to recut that thread, and it's just a real nightmare. Put a bit of lube on and you won't have that issue. You want to put a tiny bit of lube just under the head of the bolt where it rubs onto whatever the friction surface is going to be, and you also want to put a little bit on the threads. That is generally enough to protect. We're going to work away in the background and get this galley finished, but today we need to get the plastic off the stainless. To do that, the bench was moved out slightly from the wall, and then we can just get in there and rip all of this plastic off so that we can reveal lovely shiny stainless. Okay, work. Probably enough.
Yeah, I'll just hold it.
One of the last jobs that we need to do in here is reroute some electric cables. We've got a piece of AC single phase cabling that has to come out through this hole just above Stu. There's cable trays that hold it behind the wall, and we're about to mount the plug to this area here.
It's fine. There's a cable tie there.
Yep, great.
Does that?
Done.
All right. Yeah.
Things come up, things go down. Make me turn back around. My spine is sin, screaming that I'm mad. A big storm.
With the riv nuts in, it's time to fasten this shelf for the last time. Galley shelving up, and we have our first plug properly put in where it needs to go. So this cable basically that's the end of the cable there. Currently it's located outside the boat, but we need to fit our cable trays running around the roof and so on and get it all the way back to our electrical area that's going to be over here. But for now, that's galley done for a while.
You may remember our stabilizers. So this is what keeps the boat stable when we're in the water. Stops the movement of the boat, so it's a more comfortable ride. We've done most of them. We've got the arms that drop the wings on the side. It's run by electric winches. They're all working. They're all great. We've got a wee bit of work to do, but we're starting with handrails at the top, from the slider at the top over to the wheelhouse roof. So here are Stu and Dame about to put them on for us, make it a bit safer up there.
If you're new to watching Brupeg and you're wondering what on earth am I chopping on the roof, check out episode 153, there's a link in the description or in the top right corner. This is something that guides our arms up and down. Our arms are something that lock our wings into place, and our wings are something that are truly awesome. With the sliders trimmed even, we can now get the stainless pipe in there and start confirming our final design.
I wish you all the best I can, and I stop myself.
We have a left and a right. We found these at the scrapyard. This is obviously the one that's going on the right hand side or starboard, and then we've got a left hand side up there or port. We need to cut this end off. You can sort of see there's a bit of a curve. It doesn't really line up with where it needs to go on the boat, and that's something that we need to just trim off and then remount. The back end of these handrails wasn't quite long enough to reach down to the roof, so we had to add a little bit of scrap that we had so that we could join it from the top of the sliders down. It's also a bit hard to see, but it's blowing quite a lot of wind up here, so it's probably good 15 knots at least. It's always a challenge to MIG weld, particularly it's a challenge to TIG weld in that sort of wind, but it's hard to MIG weld with solid wire. Flux core is pretty good in this sort of weather conditions because you're not dealing with a lack of gas. The flux core itself will do the shielding if needed. But at the moment we would be welding stainless to mild, so we need to have a solid 309 wire. So MIG welding is a bit of a challenge given that wind condition. So Stu brought up his multi-purpose rods, and it's actually a 312 stainless rod, and we're going to be stick welding this on using those rods.
The idea over the next few weeks is to help each other out, get the work done we both need to do on our separate boats together, and have a good time doing it.
Yeah,
Tack it onto the top there.
how's that line up? Is that alright?
Yeah.
This one level with the edge like flush like that.
Yeah.
Is that what you're hoping for?
Yeah. After all this welding, Stu sat down for a break and I did the robot.
We thought you might be curious. On Brupeg, the GoPro has its own selfie stick. Dame designed this to sit on the rim of the boat to get some really good shots that are possible to get any other way. It works really well. The next morning, Dame sets up the welder to get on with the second handrail. It's a bit chilly this morning.
900.
While Dame cuts off the top of the sliders with the sabre saw, I practice the drone. That's going to be one of my jobs going forward. Stu came up with a really good idea to put a cap on each of the sliders rather than across the top, so you can get your hand around the handrail easily.
25 mil. Okay. It's not perfect 90.
Oh,
It's
really?
Slightly over 90.
Over 90, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've
Certainly doesn't
wouldn't
really catch
probably
the
notice
eye
it.
standing here.
Nah, I think that's good right there. Just
Okay.
hold 2 seconds. Okay, that'll hold it. All right.
Yes.
Well done.
I was making my way across town, trying to get to you.
Yeah, I reckon by the time you get all your little bits and bobs sealing off your wings, you're quite nice up here. You sort of go, yeah.
Yeah.
It actually makes it nicer up here. I feel like, oh, it's a space now, not just the roof.
Yeah. Need to do a Bunnings run at some point.
Yeah, I'll definitely come to Bunnings with you, and maybe Scrappy if you want to do that.
Yeah, that sounds good. This is a thing of beauty. Look at how full this is. This is all
it's chockers.
mandrel
It's
bent.
like a big Jenga puzzle.
Yeah.
Totally.
Mandrel bent 4-inch pipe. Just bucket loads of it. And we need stuff that's guaranteed to be at the bottom.
Of those two sizes down there, Damien, which are the 2 hours? Which size were we again?
That one.
Yeah, the smaller one.
Oh,
So
yeah,
they're two
smaller.
good 90s you can use.
Yep, let's go and have a look at that. Yeah, so you want this size here, not the big size. This is, what is it? 316. 31.75, 32 mil. That's your handle.
Yeah, I was inspired by the new railings on the Brupeg. It's transformed that area now. It just
Yeah,
feels like,
they-
instead of feeling like you're teetering on a roof, you feel like you're on a deck.
Yeah.
And really, once we, it didn't take that long.
No, it was
Getting
simple,
your head
eh?
around.
Yeah. So we'll get some new railings around the back on your boat, and I think it's going to make it like way better as a work boat.
Yeah, better work boat, better fenders, and somewhere to. I've got a railing mount for that barbecue as well.
And being heavy wall pipe, I think it's going to be like really good in terms of like being a work boat, because you can probably tie shit to the handrail.
I reckon you can tie quite a bit to it.
Like-
It's a Schedule 40, so
Yeah.
compared to having this thin wall stainless. What I'd actually really like to do is one day put another door in the, very easier said than done, but in the sort of starboard quarter,
Yeah.
and then actually step out onto a swim platform, and then have a ladder that goes from the swim platform into the water. Like that'd be
Yeah, right.
the ideal setup, I think. But
Yeah, cool. When we went to the scrappy, Stu found a whole bunch of this heavy wall stainless pipe. So this is a 32mm stainless pipe and some thicker stuff for his bulwarks. So he's got a bit of rust in the bulwarks to replace. But most of the small stuff will be handrails. We found some cool little curves that we're going to use for the corners. We also got quite a few lengths of 316 and 304. This is again the 32mm OD. I think it's 1 inch ID from memory, heavy wall pipe, and this is going to form handrails around Renko. So he's got something stainless around the back end of the boat, which will be a pretty cool little addition to it.
We had a little delivery today. Thanks, Tony. The paint for the hull. This is for the cabin and down to the waterline, and then under the waterline is our anti-flood, of course. But this is the grey.
It's enough paint to do 2 coats on Brupeg. That's nearly $2,000. We think this boat's getting moved in the morning because Stu is coming out via that travel lift. Stu gave Jess and I the opportunity to go for a spin in Renko when he was filming his last video. It was pretty awesome to get back out on the sea. We had a couple of moments where Jess was in her element up the front of the boat in the middle of the sea, and me being the gentle, loving husband that I am, I sped up and aimed straight into the waves to see if we could get some green water over the front. Exactly the sort of thing Jess would expect of me.
Stay here forever. So just stay here.
Yeah.
It's my happy place.
Your happy place is here.
Weights around my waist, I'm almost a bird. These mountain views and pink sunsets got me shitting skin. Ooh, we all strive to be more. We all long for viva la vida. Around the corner I'll meet ya, a bit lighter and freer. I'm so happy to see ya. And the air fills up my lungs and it tickles. Oh, what a joyful feeling. I think I'm gonna stay here under all these rays and soak up the sun. Ooh, ooh, we long for viva la vida. Around the corner I'll meet ya, a bit lighter and freer. I'm so happy to see ya. And we learn from our mistakes.